Luminaires. Hi to everyone out there on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia, so it is the afternoon. Hello to wherever you are today. Thank you so much. I see you guys already posting. It's so nice to have you here. Today is a wonderful talk. If you were with me this morning, I was speaking to Esmini, who is a Reiki master in Australia. And now, this afternoon, I told you I was going to talk to two fabulous people on one day. We're going to be talking to Manu Sai Malasquez. No, he's going to laugh how I pronounce his name. I practiced it like, what, 3 minutes or so beforehand? But Manu is a medicine man. He is a healer, and he is gracing us with his presence here in Atlanta, Georgia for actually tomorrow through Sunday, and Saturday night we're hosting a fire ceremony here in Atlanta. So if you are local luminaires and you want to gather with us, I'll be there. You'll get to sit with Manu as well. And we're going to talk about that event and a little bit about him. And so I'm not going to take any more time and introduce you to Manu Sai.
Hi, good afternoon.
There
Nice
you
to see
are.
everybody here. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, I'm so happy to see your face. So I met you in Peru,
hmm
and we had an incredible, magical trip there. And I'm so thrilled that you are here in the States. But I want to kind of toss it over to you if you had some suggestions about how to open up our conversation today.
Yeah, just like when I do a session or a ceremony or everything like that, I always like to call in spirit and ask spirit to kind of like watch over us, guide us, help us, inspire us, you know, to so that we can connect to that energy that we are and that's all around us. So I have a drum here, and if it's okay with you, I'd like to sing a song and also sing a song for the world and for all of us, because we are not. Have you ever heard of the adults of God?
No?
Because they don't exist. There's no adults of God. So it's like we're all children of God. So I wanted to sing a song for all of us as family, as global family, and to be able to connect to everybody in a good way. And so, giving thanks for the up above and down below and all around. Ding, 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 no. Giving thanks for all our parents, yana, yana, nani. Giving thanks for our ancestors, yana, yana, and giving thanks to the original inhabitants of all these lands. And I did it, and I did. I pray for you, I pray for me, I pray for all of us to be okay. And for kindness and wisdom to follow us all the rest of our days. And I didn't know. And I didn't know. Gratitude and compassion, and I did. Wonderful keys help us to be happy, and I did, and I did. When we're grateful, we remember to be compassionate. When we are compassionate, we remember to be grateful. So we give thanks to the I didn't know. Grateful for all that we have and I did and I need. Giving thanks for Pachamama, Mother Earth, and I didn't know. Thank you for your blessings, hey, yana, ena, nane, hey, yana. Pray for all the children, hey, yana, to be safe and sound, hey, yana. Pray for all people to live in peace. Didn't I, didn't I, giving thanks for the rooted ones, the winged ones, and the crawly ones, didn't I. For those in the water, those in the sky, those in the earth, didn't I. Giving thanks for all sentient beings, yana, 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 didn't I.
That was beautiful, and I have to say that's the softest I think I've ever heard you.
That's because the computer's like two feet away from me.
I mean, it is something else to be in your presence when you're doing your work, Manu. Like
Thank you.
just the frequency of your voice alone when you speak. Like today, this is a very soft painted picture of you, but you command the frequency of the energy in the room so quickly. and you just host it to arrive and to do the work that is necessary. There's no and in the nicest way I'm saying this, there's no backing away from it. You hold people accountable. You are this mirror that comes in and just says, look at yourself now. Not tomorrow, not in 5 minutes. Now is the time.
Yeah,
So
now that's interesting. You're mentioning that because right before we were about to get on the call, I like sat and meditated for a while. You know, I was doing my chanting and everything that I do, my practices. So to give you a little background, I grew up in India. You know, I was born in Brazil. My parents met in Brazil. Then we traveled through the Amazon. My mom was like washing diapers. I had to be careful that my dad's keeping an eye out for crocodiles. You know, then we end up in Peru, and then my dad wanted to be a filmmaker, so we went to we went to Paris, and then one day he comes home and says, "I want to be a yogi." So we went by land to India. That was before Russia had invaded Afghanistan. So we got to go through like Turkey and Iran and Afghanistan and Pakistan and ended up in India. And then on and off for like 12 years, my parents were going back and forth. And my dad was studying music in Varanasi, which is this ancient city. So I got to grow up there on the bank of the Ganges. And then we came to America. And then in America, we spent time living in America, Northern California, and got to spend time also with Native American elders. You know, so my dad was like, I was doing sweat lodges when I was a young boy and spending time with elders who my dad was studying with and everything. So I want to give thanks to my father, Inti Cesar Malaskas, and my mom, Ananda Mai, for helping to me to be on this path, you know, because it was like, I'm just so grateful to my parents because like I have a very unique life, you know, not structured in some ways that some other people think is the way to live. And we all have our own ways of doing it, you know. So I'm having to grow up in some ways at the same time, and at the same time, part of me is like very wise. So it's kind of interesting being a child of the universe like that. So, but growing up in India, uh, I do a lot of chanting. I do a lot of Vedic mantras. I work a lot with that. You can't hear me. Am I speaking too slow? Is that better? Person who asked for the volume.
a more blessing asked if you could turn it up. Maybe just speak a
Yeah.
little bit more firmly
Okay.
or loudly.
So where was I? Oh yeah. So growing up in India, and then I ended up in the Amazon also. I ended up in the Amazon rainforest and working with sacred plant medicine, with ayahuasca, you know, giving thanks for the medicine of the trees and everything. And then when I was in the rainforest, spending time there, then I ended up having a visitation from Satya Sai Baba. And he like walked into my house and said, "You got to come see me." And I didn't know who he was. And next thing you know, I met somebody in the Amazon who flew me to India, you know, so that kind of like changed everything. So coming to that, I was chanting today. So that gives you like a little roundabout thing. And then coming to that, I was chanting today and I was feeling the energy of Kala Bhairava. Kala Bhairava is the Indian Lord of Time, right? He's the Indian Lord of Time. He's a very recognized deity who's very powerful, and because you know he's the Lord of Time, so he's like the ultimate winner, right? Because time is the one that wins everything. Yeah. And so I was feeling at the same time like part of the ceremonial work we'd be doing with the fire, we'd also be connecting to that divine time,
Yes.
right? Because like everything is like speeding up, some things are speeding up, something is slowing down. We've had like an interesting, how would you say, time warp, 2.5 year quarantine. And so we had to like get to work on ourselves. We kind of understand what's more important, what's not important. A lot of us have like expanded and have new relationships. Some of our old relationships, we don't have them anymore. And so what's coming to mind was to bring that energy also to Atlanta, so like work on how we can shift some time things. And also we are connecting to the ancestors, connecting to what's in the earth, and being able to also help to release some of the ancestors who want to go home,
Yeah.
right? And so like the energy of the fire ceremony is a very ancient ceremony. It's connected to the Vedas, you know, ancient Hindu Sanskrit mantras. That so when we call in the deities and we offer things into the fire, it's like I look at it like the fire is like it's like a mouth. It's like almost like a mouth of God. And so like we're giving it like offerings, and we're giving it to offerings, and we're writing letters about things we want to release, and we're putting it into the fire. And then a lot of those letters get answered, and then we can pray not just for ourselves. You know, we can pray for the community. We can pray for ourselves. We pray for our state. We pray for our country. You know, so a lot of that magical stuff happens. And what I also think is like with the energy of Kala Bhairava is that the time is shifting so much right now, and we're all ascending, and we're like our vibrations are rising, and at the same time, there's like some stuff that won't let us rise. They just did not want to let us rise, and so whether that's personal circumstance, that's karma, that's energetics of other people projecting onto us, things like this. The fire at the same time is a place where we can pray together in safety and invoke divinity and invoke higher vibrations to be with us and also to protect us and for us to be able to release. I mean, we only sat around the fire once, but do you remember how fast it was? It was easy to, I was like, okay, to think about this and hold on to that offering in your hand. And I really want you to focus and now throw it in the fire. What happened? Did you feel like you could release it right away?
Absolutely. Yes.
Right. So
Now.
that, yeah. So when I was getting the call to come work with you, so thank you for that. And thank you for introducing me to your community and meeting. And it was such a treat because I had been in isolation almost for like 2 years. I hadn't traveled internationally with and spending time with lots of like-minded people in a while. So it was really nice to be with you and be with your group and everybody who came to visit. And I see some of them are joining us, so hi. And also just like the vibration was so nice, it was so high. Everybody was like tuned in, and so it's like I would say something, and then they could, and also you get like some people like, oh yeah, I see that. That's like this, and this, and I was like, oh, I get to be with people whose third eye are open, So that was a real treat. I must say that was like a real treat. It was like the ice cream of like 2 years. So thanks for that.
Thank you for saying that. I was just glancing over at Jessica, and she was asking, the fire ceremonies that you do. Do you ever teach any of these skills, or you lead them, or do you
Mm-hmm.
also educate others in how to do their own?
I do. I lead the fire ceremony. Um, we can have a talk about like some basic work that they can do. I would recommend like if to look up the Agni Hotra, right? That's Agni, and the second part is Hotra, Hotra. The Agni Hotra is a basic small fire ceremony that people can do at exactly at sunrise and sunset. And so like when they there's also a link that you can go to. It's a company called Copperworks, and they're here in America. And you can look to them, and they sell these beautiful little copper pyramids and stuff that you can do the fire with. And they usually do it with cow dung, like dry cow dung, because it's an Indian thing. But you can also do it with wood. And and then you do like a basic. They give you the basic mantra, and then you look at a calculator, so you work exactly with the energy of the sun and the sunrise and the sunset, and then you do specific mantras exactly at that time. Now, what's interesting about doing the mantras exactly at that time, it's almost like a ray of sun hits the fire and then goes whoop, and then goes bam, and then spreads out, right? And so there's people in so somehow I've seen this in South America. People have brought the practice. There's like people that are into the shared worldwide. They share the practices, and they were doing them in farms. They're doing them at farms, at large scale cultivation, and everything like this. And the the stuff that was happening with the plants were able to grow better. There's like less infestations of like pests and stuff like this, and they were able to go organic. And it was very interesting that they were able to do this with fires. And then they would take these pyramids into the cancer wards of some hospitals in Peru actually, and they would have like fire ceremonies like once a month or once every 6 months or something like this to be able to help people. So that's a very basic way that I would say if you're interested in working with me, go do that first. Get a little practice, get a little connected to the frequency, and then come see me. And then we can talk about it. We can arrange it and everything like this because I wasn't formally trained for this. Right? The way it happened was I met this really powerful man. His name is Jayant Kalwacha, JK. I met him in India at Sai Baba's ashram, and this was like in 2004, 2003 or 2004, and hey Kim, I see your prayer there. I feel you. Sending lots of love and support. And the loss of a child is not an easy thing. So thank you for sharing that. We send lots of prayers for you and hope that everything is held and that space is held and that the angels can come and wrap their wings around your heart and that you can feel better in some way. Right? That the memory of your child is in your cells and your cells are together and are one. So thank you for your prayer and wish you well. So I met him, and then I went to his fire ceremonies, and I was seeing these things that were happening, and I was like, oh wow, that was really really beautiful. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for what you're doing. It was really nice to see his ceremonies. Really powerful to see it, but I didn't really think about it. And then like a couple of years later, I'm in the middle of Colorado traveling with some devotees, and I bump into him out of nowhere. This guy's like travels the whole world doing ceremonies, and we're like in some really small, little rinky-dinky cowherd town in the middle of Colorado, and we're doing fire ceremonies. And next thing you know, I traveled with him for 6 months, and then I was in, and then I ended up assisting him in all his ceremonies, and then we went to, and then I was with him in, then I went to Guatemala, and then I had been in Guatemala. I was at these devotees of Sai Baba's house, and we were doing and all of a sudden they had a really big problem, and I was told go ahead and do a ceremony, do a fire ceremony. I said I don't know how to do it, and then I could hear spirit inside me goes absolutely you do, and then I did it, and then I started doing it, and then I started doing it, and I haven't stopped. And
Yeah.
I'm learning more and more and more, and more and more and more, and being very specific and very interesting, and it's like somehow like my soul is very connected to it, and I'm very grateful to do it. But at the same time, we're talking about the fire ceremony, but I also want to talk to you about Shelly. My answer would be I go to India. India, and this is the Manu of all the places you have visited. What culture did you find the most open to spiritually? I would say India for sure. And there's a ceremony in Peru. It's called Pago a la Tierra, which means payment to the earth ceremony, right? I've been with many. So the first one I went to was with my dad, and then I got to spend time with other medicine people who did it and everything. And then of course it came like the same time, like the same thing happened. You know, it was like all some spirits like it's time for you to do one. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't know how to do it. And they're like, yes, you do, right? Just like before, I was like afraid to talk in public, and then all of a sudden spirits like you got to go share this with the people. I'm like, okay, that's the way, you know, that's why you gotta, these gifts are given to us. They're not just for us to sit in a closet somewhere. It's like we have to go share it with people.
Right? Even though you're not classically trained, you're trained by life experience. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
way more valuable than just getting it from the book or getting it from the word of somebody else. Having that experience is huge.
Yeah, it's definitely for experience for sure. And so the payment to the earth ceremony is really beautiful. They do it in Peru usually during the month of August, because they say the month of August is the month of Pachamama, and I think it's also because like winter's finishing, they're coming into spring. It's before planting season, so they offer grains, they offer fermented corn drink, chicha, they offer to the earth and everything, and some of them make a very intricate kind of mandala, and then they'll burn it. So I was studying with this. I had been this medicine man friend was visiting me, and he's like, it's not a payment. You can't bribe Mother Earth. So I thought that was pretty cool the way he said that. You can't bribe Mother Earth. And I was like, okay. He's like, it's called an offering to the earth ceremony. He's like, okay, ofrenda. I got it. I can work with that, right? And so we did this offering to the earth ceremony. And now I learned how to do them. I'll be able to work with the frequency. It's also like working with the fire. It's also, so we sit together like around a sheet, and we have like these little bowls that go all the way around us, and we around the sheet, and there'll be flowers and grains and sweets and flower petals and rice and like these different things, and then we'll come together and we'll start making a design, you know, and then the design will come through me, and the message will come through me about what we need to work on, what we're letting go, what we're putting there, and then it transforms. It can be a heart, and then also it'll have wings, and then we grow it together, and then we sing, and then maybe it becomes something else, and then it grows, but it's very connected to the earth. It's very connected to our heart and everything. So what I'm feeling for the visit to the ceremony workshop that we'll be doing together in Atlanta is that I will do the mandala. We're gonna make the mandala together, and we're gonna like program all the ingredients, right? So we can pray for there to be less violence, and for the schools to be safer, and for us to be able to walk more in truth and less in dishonesty, and have more compassion, and to pray for people who need it, and whatever comes up, whatever comes out of our heart, I hold the container while we're doing that. We program that, And then those ingredients we're going to use as the ingredients for the fire ceremony.
I remember when Colleen and I were together after the fire ceremony, and we walked back out because the daylight afterwards, while you're in it, is such an extremely different feeling. And as you're tossing everything in, some of the offerings, they spill around the fire as well as in the fire, and it just makes this artful presentation of like Earth's colors and like nutrition. I don't know how to explain it, but we just stood there and I was like, I'm gonna take a picture of this. Like, this to me is beautiful. It's the small things that we find. Um, there was a statement from Amora, and Amora had mentioned that to become a shaman, you got to dedicate and study a long time to do shamanic work well with integrity, and it's definitely dedication. So I know the work that you do. I think in general, even I did this with you, and I said, how do I identify? Because I wanted to label it so that I could understand the type of work you did. And I was like, is this like shamanic work? And you responded with,
Oh yeah.
I thought it was lovely.
Well, it's interesting because so I had a very interesting experience because I was calling myself a shaman because it's easier and everybody knows what shamans do. They travel to the underworld. They help you. They work with spirits. They help channel information. They connect to nature. They're in tune with the five elements. You know, and and now you can throw a stone and hit one. Anywhere you go. So it was like interesting. And there's this mountain. You've been to my house, so it's like where the sweat lodge is, and we have a sweat lodge there. And also you look up and there's a mountain and there's a tree. And then for years I would come out of the sweat. I look at the tree. I'm like, you're so beautiful. One day I'm gonna come visit you. It was on top of the mountain. And then I had like a group of people at my house, and we were working with San Pedro, which is a visionary cactus medicine that's really beautiful to hike on. And the tree's like, okay, tomorrow you're gonna come see me. So I ended up taking everybody, and we started walking up the mountain, and I could because like the mountain's alive, and we call them in Peru we call them apus, right? We call them spirit of the mountain, and the grandfathers, and like walking up along this grandfather, and I just felt this whole thing, and then the medicine says, "You're not a shaman." Yeah, and then it was also like the reason it said shaman, and then it was like showman, shaman, showman. He goes, you're curandero. And curandero, it means healer. He who heals, curar, to cure, curandero. You're right. And I was like, oh, and I totally resonated with it. And then it was interesting because the mountain's like, I've been watching you your whole life, right? Because I live down there and I'm on top of the mountain and I've never been up there. He goes, I've been watching you the whole time, and you're not a shaman, you're a curandero. And then 2 days later, the minister of tourism somehow through a friend of mine came to my house for a fire ceremony, like this, big wig in Peru and everything. And he looks at me and he goes, so what do you call yourself? And I say, he goes, you call yourself a shaman? And I'm like, no, I'm a curandero. He's like, very good, because shamans originally come from Mongolia and from Siberia. They're not Peruvian, right? And so the term shaman comes from like those people in Mongolia who have like these feathers hanging down, and they're like they hunch over and they work with these drums, and it's like connected to the areas of like Tuva in Russia, Siberia, and they're working with medicine and everything like that, and they work with chanting and their practice. I haven't been to visit them, so I don't know too much about them. But the term shaman originally comes from over there.
Yeah. Amora says, because there are a million people running around claiming the title shaman, a true shaman has no need to flaunt that title. She's just
Yeah,
like these
and
fake
and
genies on Instagram.
but it's interesting because shamanism is like, but at the same time, okay, so just to give you an idea about like the experience, like the levels of it, right? um I was studying in the Amazon rainforest, right, 22 years ago. And this is when it all really started, because it was like I grew up in a spiritual family. I made it to like, and then when I was a teenager, I didn't want anything to do with it. I went wild. I went into a club for a few years and then come out, something like that. And then I got the calling. I needed to go to the rainforest, and this person's like, I want you to come help me to take ayahuasca. And at that time, you couldn't go to the Sacred Valley and participate in the 150 retreat centers that are there. You couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't call up somebody in Brooklyn to do an ayahuasca circle. You know, it was like it wasn't available. This is like 20 something years ago. It was still sacred, and you had to go like on pilgrimage to go get it. You know, and so he's like, I want to go. I'm like, all right, I'll take you. This is 2000. We just held a beautiful ceremony with my father in Machu Picchu for the beginning of the millennium. And I said, okay, I'll go with you. So we went there. We did a couple night ceremonies, really beautiful. I had never drunk 2 nights in a row. And when I did, I had this incredible vision of this beautiful lady. First of all, there's like this Indian, and he had like a mohawk and he had an eagle on his shoulder. He goes, walk with me into the forest. So I follow him into the forest, and he takes me to this lady. And she's sitting there and she's stirring this big pot. And she's got this like long black hair and this copper skin, and you could like see stars like the Milky Way in her hair, you know.
Oh, wow.
And I look at the and she looks up at me, and she was Mother Ayahuasca. She's like, stay here and study with me, right? So I was like, okay. So I went and took care of a whole bunch of stuff, and then I came and I did ceremony with. Then I ended up staying there for like a year. During that time, I ended up finding out that she poisoned me because she wanted to control me. She put something nasty in ayahuasca that I ended up drinking because she wanted to control me. So it was like at one point I didn't feel good unless I was at her place. And then so I kind of broke out of that, and I was living by myself in the forest. And I was working with trees. So like you fast with the trees, you do a dieta. So you boil the bark, you bathe yourself with them, you have a very strict diet, you don't eat certain things. And then the frequency of nature becomes very strong inside you. So you're like able to hear spirits of plants. You're able to hear about different things like this. And then they come and they give you medicine, right? They give you medicine. So, so here I have these flowers in front of me, right? So like if I had this, see this beautiful little carnation here, right? And so this carnation's been helping me with my prayers every day. Beautiful carnation, thank you for your love. I'll bathe with you, yeah, not need me, and always remind you how good you are to me. That's an impromptu, like Icaro, like connecting to the spirit of the plant, right? But you connect in that, and then they say like, this is medicine. This is what we're good for. This is how you're going to help people who are sick. You know, you have to do this, or you have to come early in the morning and harvest it, and then you boil it, or you make a poultice. And so I was getting all this info. And then one day, outside, there's a thunderstorm, lightning, thunder, bah, bah, bah. And then I hear this voice saying, how come you're not asking God for help? I'm like, what? And thunder and lightning. I was like, oh my God, this is probably what Moses did. Heavy. And then it's like, how come you're not asking God for help? And then I actually realized I'd only been working with the created, right? And I wasn't working with the creator, right? And so like my frequency was like, and I just saw it, this like split second. I was like, oh, that's what's going on. I haven't dedicated my life. I'm just like here. So I'm gonna hang out with shamans, and I'm gonna hang out with power people, and I'm gonna be sorcery and black magic and this and that and jealousy and envy, and I'll take your clients and you'll take my clients, and we'll fight about it, and we'll just be stuck in this power game. I wasn't in that game, but I was definitely getting hit by it. And so I got on my knees and I prayed to Lord Shiva. I said, I want to work for you. You know, I want to dedicate my life. I want to work for you. And then 3 days later, I was getting ready to do the ceremony, and my whole house smelled like roses. And all of a sudden, Sai Baba walked into my house, and he's like standing right in front of me. I'm like, I didn't know who he was. I knew he was some saint who like made ash. And I said, he's like, come, you're gonna sit in front of me 4 months from now in India. And I was like, oh really? He's like, yeah. And then a couple months later, I met somebody, and they saw a tattoo I had on my shoulder, and they said, I've seen that tattoo. I said, when did you? How? She's like, somebody gave me some materialized oil from Sai Baba. I put it in my third eye, and then I saw that. Then I saw that tattoo. I was like, oh, Sai Baba. And I told her the story. She's like, well, I want to go to India. I need a guide, so why don't we pay for our trip and we'll go to India? And next thing you know, I was in India in front of Sai Baba. But the reason I'm talking about this is because that's when I started learning is like this gift of shamanism, if you want to call it shamanism, or curanderismo, or being able to connect to the earth and the elements and everything like this, when it can be dedicated to the highest power, that we're using it to transform ourselves and do the best that we can to be better human beings, and understanding that the gifts that we have are about compassion and gratitude and lifting up and raising the frequency so that we can live in higher frequencies and we can be okay as human beings, and then we can share this with our children. Then it's like, so that's it. So that's what I'm gonna come and share with you guys. And so that's also why I don't want to be lumped up as being a shaman, because You don't know who the people are working for, right? I know who you work for. I've spent time with you. I know who you work for. I know who your boss is, right? So it's like we have the same boss, right? When we're spending time with people and we're hearing where they're at and where they're from, and all. So I would also recommend to anybody out there, if you're going to do any plant medicine, right? Or if you're going to go to any kind of healer or curandero or like deep project or something like this, where you're going to go deep and you're going to give people access to your soul and you're handing them the key to open up into your most innermost places, you need to know who they work for. Just like you're not going to fly some super cheap, low budget airline, because you don't know where the pilots got trained. If you're going to go somewhere, you definitely need to ask them who they work for. Sorry.
So when we organized our retreat at Pachamamawasi, which is your family home, and dare I say, like spiritual resort is the way that I think my American eyes would describe it.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there was offering in there for plant medicine journey. Is that something that you run or that you still offer?
I haven't been doing it. First of all, Pachamama Wasi means home of Mother Earth. It's a beautiful piece of land that my parents have been having for like 30 years and slowly working on it. And it's so cool because my parents are eclectic, So we have like the Russian room, and we have the Tibetan room and the African room, and we have all these things from all these different cultures there. So it is quite beautiful.
It is.
Um, but yes, I haven't been feeling the urge because I kind of got jaded, you know. And to be perfectly honest, I got a little jaded of working with people who are showing up with not doing their homework, and it's like they're interested in just taking medicine and then taking medicine somewhere else, and then taking medicine somewhere else, and then taking medicine somewhere else, and I'm just another experience. Even though I have a really good teacher and we have a very unique way of doing things, and it was like, so I got a little jaded, I got a little jaded, so I've taken a break, and I took a break also from taking medicine for a long time, like 3 years, and then which I do occasionally because like I'll feel the medicines like because it's medicine, right? So you take medicine when you're sick or when you need it. You're not going to be popping medicine every day if you don't need it, right? And then you get better, or then you feel you need another reboot or something like that, and then you go and do it again. So I've been feeling slowly that yes, I'm interested in working with people, and I might be having a group at the end of July there. That might be like a 9-day intensive. And I work with a beautiful medicine man, Cesar Panduro, who has been, who's like in his like mid to late 60s, who got trained by his grandfather when he was like 12, and now he's training his grandson. And he's very connected to the Christ energies. He works a lot with Mother Mary and Jesus and all the other medicines and stuff like that. But they're very nice. And but what I've been feeling in my heart is like, because like the medicine can open you up to a lot of things and it can show you many things. Is at the same time, it's like not just to take medicine for ourselves, but to be able to take medicines for the planet. Like, what is it? How can she advise us? What can we do? I'm thinking about buying land somewhere to do something very positive. Maybe she can give some more information about that. I'm thinking about doing this like this to help people. I want to get involved in a nonprofit. What does that mean? Maybe we can all work together and create something. So it's like I'm feeling like Mother Earth wants to talk. She's got a lot to say. She's got a lot of information that's wanting to be heard at this time. And it's like us, I think, in our modern outlook, right? We have a modern outlook about things and everything, and we also forget it's like every single thing that we have. This like vest I'm wearing, this iPad that I'm looking into, and everything. It's all comes from the earth. Every single thing. So it's like when we talk to her, don't you think she also has like some cures and remedies and answers for us?
Yes. And if people who are listening, Luminaires, if you're interested in learning more or getting in contact with you, can they reach out to you via the email?
Yes, please feel free to reach out my via my email. This is my first public appearance in many years, and I kind of went off grid for a while, and I'm really glad it's with Jamie, and because like Jamie, I like her heart, and we work for the same boss, so that's really cool and easy, and I'm very open to working with people. I also do Zoom sessions for healing. I do long distance sessions with people, and I'm open to discussing what needs to be done and how I can be able to be of help. So my private email is not private anymore. My healing email is deep.release@pm.me. If you could write that down, that'd be great.
I will absolutely write that down at pm.me. That is his personal email. Please reach out to him if you're resonating. And what that means for some viewers out there, if you're new to this kind of content, but you're really intrigued and you just find yourself lingering here, if your body is lit up when you're hearing Manu talk, if you feel totally intrigued or entertained, right? Entertainment could be the word, and you feel locked into the words that he's saying, that's what I mean by in alignment. And I'm going to encourage you to follow through with that. Don't just let this sit on the table. Reach out, write the email. Who knows what this is going to lead to? But if we follow our body intelligence this way, where our body lights up and we go, okay, you're speaking, I'm listening. This is what we need to feed ourselves. Similar to how Manu is saying it's medicine. You know, you give yourself the medicine. The work that Manu does is like medicine. It is healing to. Thank you for posting. It's healing on all levels. So if it's something that you're attracted to, follow through with it. Deep dot release at pm.me. I want to know, what does the PM stand for?
Oh, it's proton mail.
Thanks. Kiara says, if you get lost in the words, does this count? Absolutely, Kiara. It counts.
I
I
hope you
am
find yourself out.
I am so excited to see you tomorrow. Like,
Yeah,
you'll be here in this room tomorrow.
nice, cool.
Join us for our YouTube membership Q&A. So you'll have a chance to ask a few questions to Spirit while you're here. I'm thinking that's something that you do at every waking hour anyway. But um, Lorena wants to know if I can ask you about a ceremony at Awesome Gate. Is that something he's into?
Are you asking Lorena? Are you asking about Coyoriti? Coyoriti is an Ausangate is a very revered and respected Apu, grandfather mountain spirit. And in front of, and many people go there and hold prayers and everything like this. In front of Ausangate, and I mean, in front, it could be like, a couple 100 miles or 100 miles or something. There's another place, and they go up to the mountain called Coyoriti, and like thousands and thousands and thousands of people, like literally between 15 to 50,000 people will come from all over South America, highland communities, and they'll go up there and they'll worship the mountain, and they wear these beautiful outfits and feathers and dancing, and they're just dancing for 4 days. Some of them will go and camp out on top of the glacier, right? And they'll bring ice down. And before they brought ice down, but now that the ice is, unfortunately the ice is receding because of global warming. So now they bring down in little bottles. Now they don't bring down any at all. But because the reason that the Andean experience is we pray for snow so the snow can land on the mountain, and then it melts into water, and then the water flows down and feeds our fields, and then Mother Earth feeds us. And so one of the reasons for, I think one of the names Coyorita means, I think it means Lord of the Snowstorm.
That's so beautiful. I get mesmerized when you speak too. So before we close up our conversation, I would love to go back and just recap kind of what you're going to be doing here in Atlanta on Saturday. You talked about creating the mandala and then doing a fire ceremony. So if you can summarize that for our new viewers that are here with us.
We are going to come together as children of the universe, right? Children of the universe, and we're going to create together a mandala that is going to, we're going to speed it. We're going to activate all the rice and the grains, and the flowers, and everything with our prayers and powerful energy, and then we're going to offer that with gratitude into the fire to be able to bring out personal change for ourselves, for our families, for our loved ones, for the world, and for the earth, and for the universe.
And hug a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to hug everybody that shows up. So, Crystal, decide if you show up, I am squeezing you so hard. But she says, I'm so excited for Saturday. Thank you so much. It's been an honor. What a way. It's been an honor to be with your energy, Manu. Oh, Luminaires.
Thank you, Jamie. This was super easy.
Super easy. It's having a great conversation. But there is one thing
Good.
I ask of everybody
Mhm.
that I speak to at the end, and that's kind of this question. Is there a golden nugget, just something of your life that you can share with the luminaires, the viewers,
Mhm.
that has either helped you stay present or on your path, healed your wounds, whatever it is? It's something that you use or you put into application within your work that you could share with us. Golden nugget.
Yeah. Um, it's interesting because like I hear golden nugget, and then part of me is like, but I haven't been doing it as much as I should. Is when I wake up in the morning, right? Instead of grabbing the phone, right, which I usually do, but I'm trying not to. It's like, you know, when I wake up in the morning, is to take a moment to give thanks for the to give thanks for the new day, and also connect to spirit and ask spirit to help work through you so this day can be dedicated to to doing good. Or you know, in my way, I ask God, I want to dedicate this day to you. Please work through me. Please make everything happen as the way it needs to be. And then the days usually turn out really interesting. You know, unfortunately, I forget about it sometimes, but when I do remember, I have good experiences. So I think just like just tuning in and giving thanks from gratitude before getting out of bed, and setting the intention to being of service and for good things to happen during the day, or whatever happens, to be able to be in a good space. I think that's how we do it. So it's like we're surrendering ourselves to the day and to the spirit of good.
I really enjoy that. That hits home for me. And I also appreciate how human you are and that you so freely share how sometimes you forget these things and then you stay in the moment and you don't beat yourself up over it. Like your active practice of kindness to yourself for just being there is it's so wonderful to see. It just reminds us, to
Well,
apply that to ourselves.
I'm not interested in being on a pedestal. You know, I think it's much easier if we can just like hang out together. You know,
Yeah,
we can hang out together and we can help each other and we can help each other up. And when I'm down, you can help me up. And when you're down, I can help you up. And when we're all down, God can help us up and just keep moving forward. You know, it's like it's easy, and that's the trick, right? It's like to be able to experience life and all of its, you know, flavors, salty and sour and sweet, and we can go through it and we can still experience it and still be able to understand that, you know, it's like we're going to be okay.
that is awesome. Manu, thank you so very much. I'll
Mm-hmm.
see you tomorrow and I'll squeeze you firmly for everybody that's here.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to like all these really, um, I've been really liking these messages, man. People have been putting really nice, connected, beautiful things, and I really look forward to meeting some of you, and wish you all just the best. And always, God bless you. Be happy.
Shout out to Tiffany. She was with us in Peru. It's so good to have you here, Tiffany. All right, Luminaires, please remember, it's our sign off. All of this, it's not woo woo, it's true, true. I don't know why I giggle when I say it. It's just fun to say it. This is not crazy. It's not woo woo. This is very true, true. So, welcome to normalizing this beautiful natural ability. I'll see
Thank
you
you.
later, and I'll see you tomorrow.